Now we're going to expand on our ability to extract data from data frames and look at how we can use Boolean conditions to be more specific in what we want to extract. So far we've learned how to extract data according to either its integer position using iloc or its label using loc. But what if we want to extract rows that satisfy a given condition? Both loc and the bracket operator accept Boolean arrays as input. So let's see this in practice. We're going to be working with a data frame today that comes directly from Social Security data with names of babies born in the United States. So we're in the Pandas Part 2 notebook for today. And I'm going to show you where we're going to grab the data. So if you just look at this website here, this takes you to the United States Social Security website, and they keep data of all the names listed on Social Security cards for babies born in the United States. This includes the year they're born. It includes the biological sex that they're listed with on their birth certificate. And so we're going to pull this data in particular for Colorado. So this code right here is really out of the scope of our course, but you are welcome to dive into it more if you'd like to see how it works. We're basically just jumping into saying, okay, we're going to grab the names that are from the state Colorado and put it into a data frame called baby names. You're welcome to actually change this to whatever state ID you'd like, so feel free to play with the state of your choice. In our slides, I'm actually going to be using data from California babies. Let's grab the first 10 rows just to play with. So one way I can do this is by saying head of 10. Another way I can do this is using .loc. So take a minute and see if you could remember what you would need to put in to the loc operator if I wanted to grab the first 10 rows. If you recall, because the loc operator is using row labels, I'm actually going to say I want rows, the slice up until and including 9, and then I want all columns. So that's what I'm getting here. And now we're going to practice with selecting a subset of this data frame, just so we can see how Boolean selection works. So I'm going to go back to the slides here, but you're welcome to continue playing in the notebook. If I put a Boolean array as my input into either the loc or the bracket operator, then rows corresponding to true will be extracted and rows corresponding to false won't. This is the idea of what we call a Boolean mask. And so let's see this in action with our first 10 rows. All right, so I've got my first 10 rows, and now I'm going to input a Boolean array into my bracket operator. And the way this will work is because the first entry is true, that's going to be interpreted as saying keep the first row in the data frame. And the second entry is false, so it's not going to keep the second row. And that's basically how we think of this as a mask. Anywhere there's true, it's going to look at those and grab them out. And this will be the resulting data frame. We can do the same operation using .loc. So we can also put a Boolean array into the .loc operator, and it'll spit out our same result. What's nice about this is we can generate logical operators, or we can generate Boolean arrays by using logical operators on series. So here's a good example of using the logical operator of the double equal sign on the series baby names sex. This is going to now give me a series where every entry is either true or false. So it's the length of my original data frame, either true or false. When I now take this logical operator and put it as input into my data frame, now I'm just going to get a data frame out where every entry belongs to a baby name with sex equaling female. This same process will work using the loc operator. So it looks the same here, and I'm getting the same output. Now, what's nice is we can also combine Boolean series using various operators. So common ones we'll see are the AND operator, the OR operator. These will allow us to apply more than one condition. So if I want to select all female babies born before the year 2000, I would do it as so. I will point out that each Boolean series you input needs to be separated by its own parentheses. But now this is going to give me all the rows that have female and or earlier than the year 2000. Similarly, if I wanted to do OR, again, I'm putting now female OR before the year 2000, and now I'm going to get this as an output. Now, sometimes I want something other than AND or OR. Here are other common Boolean arrays or bitwise operators that will allow us to create Boolean arrays. And sometimes trying to do Boolean array selection can lead to way too long of code. And so there are some shortcut methods built into pandas to account for something like this. Rather than saying, give me all the rows where the names are Bella or Alex or Nargis or Lisa, I can use the .isin method. So we'll look at that one next. Two other ones that are useful, the string starts with and the group by filter. We're going to get to the string starts with today, and we're going to get to the group by filter in a future video. So let's look at .isin. Now, instead of having to write 4 different conditions, I can just create a list with all the names I'm interested in grabbing, and then just call series.isin of that list. And so this will now select all the names in the data frame that correspond to those 4, or all the rows that correspond to those 4 names. Similarly, sometimes I'm interested in a specific string, so maybe I want all the values that start with the name n, all the rows that have baby names that start with n, and this .string.starts with allows us to look for that. And as I mentioned, we'll look at the group by filter in a future video. So to close this out, I'm going to have you try a practice exercise. Let's try writing code to select the first 3 baby names from your baby names data frame with count greater than 250. And you can leave it sorted as it is when we loaded it in. It was sorted by year, so leave that as it is. But see if you can do this and just grab it out. Go ahead and put it on pause if you need to. All right, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the notebook. So I gave you a spot to play with it here. But at the bottom, I have some possible solutions because there's more than one way to do this. So let's scroll to the bottom. One way you can do this is using the .loc. And so I'm specifically saying, here's the condition that I want, here's the columns that I want, and then since I just want the first 3, I can do .head. Similarly, if I don't want to do .head, I can keep all of this the same and instead do .iloc. Because, as a reminder, iloc is exclusive of your right-hand part of the slice, I need to go from 0 up to 3, and that'll give me 0, 1, 2. I could also do this with the bracket operator. I just have to do some chained bracket operations. So I want to point these out. First, I'd be doing this part, so it might help just to look at each of these pieces separately. First, this is grabbing all columns and just the rows where the baby names count is greater than 250. Then I want to just get those 2 columns. So now I'm chaining it with the bracket operator to give me just those 2 columns. And now I want just the first 3 rows, so I have 2 options. I can do .head, or I can chain it again with a bracket operator and this time put in the slice, which is what I put for the second option. So any 4 of those options will get us the answer we're looking for in this exercise. And that wraps up our intro to selecting using conditional selection.